Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We would like to introduce today a new theoretical framework and analysis tool that we use in order to analyze learning behavior and learning outcome in online courses such as MOOCs. In this short talk, we will define one learner-centered MOOC outcome, namely perceived achievement. Afterward, we will present two analysis techniques that we borrowed from the field of NLP, keenness and engram. Those techniques enable us to predict the level of perceived achievement of MOOCs participants. The data for this research has been collected by using triangulation of method, questionnaire and educational data mining. The research was part of my PhD that I have done under the supervision of Professor Marco Kaltz and Professor Joran Coleman at the Open University of the Netherlands. As you probably know, learning behavior in MOOCs is mostly visible through logs, which record access and usage pattern of different resources at the course, such as video lectures, quizzes, assignments, etc. Many MOOC studies are based on counting each time the learner exceeds or uses the course resources. While little is known about how students are active over time, only few studies focus on the order of the activities and their sequential nature. We would like to claim that looking at the frequency of the activities and the sequence of the activities give us a full picture of the learning behavior. For example, as you can see in this picture, although those three fictional MOOCs participants watch 3 videos and answer 3 quizzes, the learning path or sequences are fundamentally different. Several studies use NLP feature in order to study MOOCs participants' dropout and retention, mainly by studying the language students are using. In this study, we are not focusing at the language students used, but rather we are borrowing the NLP techniques in order to follow the learning process of the participants. Moreover, as mentioned before, most of the studies that used NLP in MOOCs predicted traditional success outcome, such as dropout and completion rate. None of those studies had used NLP method in order to predict subjective success outcome in MOOCs, such as perceived achievement. Perceived achievement is a subjective learning outcome criteria in which participants self-evaluate themselves and estimate the level of achievement following knowledge construction process. Perceived achievement was found as a reliable and valid self-assessment measure of learning outcomes. And it's mostly visible and important in open courses, such as MOOCs, where students come with a wide diversity of goals. The research goal is to predict the learner-centered outcome measure, namely perceived achievement, by analyzing learning process of the participants. How we will do that? We correlated log data with data from post-questionnaire survey. In the next slide, I will show the research model and explain a little bit about the variables that we measured. In this course, we use the clickstream data gathered from a log file of 462 participants in a MOOC teaching the subject of English as a second language. The courses were opened and free to the public without any prerequisitions and didn't award an academic credit or other than a certificate of participation. At the time that we collected the data, 39,000 Israelis participated in the course. Out of them, 462 participants responded to the post-questionnaire. As we mentioned before, there were 2 steps of data collection. At the first step, we averaged more than 60,000 activities, and then, such as such as the number of PDF succeed, suggested learning track, and learning searches. Afterwards, we measured using a self-report post-course questionnaire the level of perceived achievement on a Likert 11 points scale. Each participant was assigned into one of two groups, divided by the median, high perceived achievement or low perceived achievement. Now, I will pass the microphone to Vered to explain about the analysis procedure and the results. Vered, please.
Thank you, Eyal. So just a reminder, our goal is to identify activities and sequence of activities that lead to high perceived achievement, versus low. We use two NLP techniques and we use the tool ANCONG of Anthony Lawrence from Waseda University. The first tool is Kines to measure saliency of activity, and the second Ngram to measure sequential characteristics. The Kines analysis provides an indication of a keyword's importance as a content descriptor in a given corpus relative to a reference corpus. In our case, Kines analysis was carried out in order to identify the activities that are unusually frequent or infrequent in one group in comparison with the activities in the other group. For example, a comparison between spontaneous speech versus news broadcast, it's only an example, will reveal that I, me, and you are salient in spontaneous speech compared to the news broadcast. So the Ngram tool allows us to find common expressions, meaning common sequences of activities in our case, and their transitional probabilities. For example, in Google autocompletion used transitional probability. If we look at the search term how to, we get a trigram, start a speech, an unigram, draw, and my favorite 5-gram, get away with murder. This is a LOL. In the current study, the Ngram analysis consisted of uni, try, 4, and 5 grams calculations by ANCONG. For each group, separately, the high group and the low group, we sorted the NI gram list according to the probability values. We then excluded activities with probability below 0.1. For the Ngram analysis, we calculated two measures. First, the participation range, the number of participants that performed each NI gram sequence of activities divided by the total number of participants in that group. For the relative frequency, we divided the absolute frequency of that NI gram sequence of activities by the total number of the NI grams in that group. The statistical significance of Kines is calculated by using the value of log likelihood as suggested by Anthony Toole and Conk. And the size of the differences is calculated by effect size. We can see here in the table that in the high group, in the bottom row, the video was a prominent activity compared to the low group. In the low group, we see 3 activities, track, PDF, and strategies that are more prominent in comparison to the high perceived achievement group. This is the first graph of the unigram results. On the x-axis, we see the 10 activities. On the left, we see the range graph, which shows that in the high blue group, more students did certain activities in high probability, but not vice versa. On the in the activity graphs on the right, we show that the video activity was more popular in the high blue group compared to the low group, as we saw before with the Kines analysis. In the bigram analysis, the results are even clearer. Sequences of activities with high probability are more popular in the high blue group, while the low orange group use more unique sequences of activities such as SL, PQ, or IL. In both groups, in both figures, the video sequence is the most probable sequence of activities. To make the story short, we jump to the 5-gram analysis to show that only 3 5-grams were with the probability higher than 0.1. This is not surprising. The higher the gram, the lower the probability is. What is surprising is that those 3 belongs to the high group, which reflects on more stability in the manner of learning. Let's see what we saw here. The unigram analysis and the keenness analysis revealed that participants in the high perceived achievement group pressed the play-pause video button more often than the participants in the low group. Participants in the low group more frequently access PDFs, recommended learning tracks, and learning strategies. This suggests that the participants in the high group were more focused on acquiring knowledge by watching the video lectures, which contained the course content. On the other hand, the participants in the low group showed a more diverse and less orderly learning behavior, maybe less assured of what to do in the course. To conclude, our analysis predicted more subjective success outcomes, namely perceived achievement. Single activities and sequential activities of the participants enable us to identify and predict their level of perceived achievements, high versus low. Our findings suggest the possibility of analyzing learning sequences in real time with the goal of improving learning outcomes and creating personalized learning environments.
We replicated the result of the study, and by using other learning-centered outcomes in MOOCs, such as intention fulfillment and learner satisfaction, you can read the full research paper that we analyzed the differences between those who had high intention fulfillment and those who fulfilled low their intentions, and to see how we use the NLP there. Thank you very much for your time, and we are ready now for Q&As.
Thank you.